today. But sometimes things like this happen when you have a special guest. Then sometimes you have to bend the rules, and that's the situation today. My name is Lawrence Omoette. Welcome to the show. Okay, polytechnic education in Nigeria, which is a bedrock of development for some, is faced with myriads of challenges. These include poor funding, deplorable infrastructure, sometimes inadequate manpower, as well as absence of a national commission for polytechnics. But there are currently over 159 polytechnics operating in Nigeria. The challenges of technical and vocational education programs in Nigeria identified to include the institution's leadership and priority, inadequate supply of technical teachers, and so on. There's so much to talk about that sector. Unfortunately, it's sad to know that after many years of existence, Nigeria as a nation is seriously threatened with a lot of social challenges. Very important sector, the polytechnic and higher technical education, and also some aspects of our lawmaking in Nigeria. My guest is already seated. Very interesting gentleman. His name is Honorable Gboyega Nasiru Isiaka. Welcome to Insight, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Omoette, and our listeners at home. Good morning to everyone in Abuja and all over Nigeria.
All right, thank you to have you in the studio. Honorable Gboyega Nasiru Isiaka represents Yewa North Imeko Afon Federal Constituency of Ogun State. He is also the chairman of the House. Okay, you can join our live stream on the program from anywhere in the world. Just type in Insight on YouTube and you will be part of the show. Social media platforms are there. On Facebook at Citizen FM Abuja, on Instagram at Citizen FM 937, and also on Twitter, and that's X at Citizen FM 937. By 10:30 we will open the phone.
So, well, generally, just like quite a number of other sectors of our economy, socio-economic in the country, the education sector has its own challenges, and you have mentioned some of them. You mentioned poor infrastructure. You mentioned the effect of the what you call the Japa syndrome on our teaching faculty. Funding is one. Then of course the general attitude that we have in the country also has the federal departments in the tertiary institutions that from our findings you hardly still see 2 or 3. It has to do with a bit to reduce the overhead because of the budget allocation that is being given, and also because quite a number of the lecturers leave practically every week or every other week as to for what is called greener pastures outside the country, particularly with what the exchange rate is doing now. So there is a problem of that, and of course the productive sector, even the educational sector has its own. Whatever you even have in your budget that that was done maybe 3-4 months ago when the budget was being put together. Today when you put it, in what we do. So those are the general problems. We're able to, take care of some of these problems.
Is concerned. How do we adapt technical vocational education and training to meet up with the current global economic requirements?
Well, is to continue to pay more attention to it, much more than ever before. I think it's getting known now to everybody that if you want to train to work, you want people to acquire skill and to start work and start living on it. The best route to go is technical and vocational education, and of course the polytechnics, and that is why you will be seeing even in some part of the world now, universities being converted to polytechnics and all of that. So I think that it is that we need to pay more attention to it. These days, it's not an issue on your capability and your skill, what you're able to do with it, particularly when we want to increase production. That, as we are always saying, a typical, a company is set up now for manufacturing or production or refinery, and you see people being brought in. You see, graduate of vocational and technical education being brought in from Eastern Europe, from Asia, to come and work in some of these places. Not because we don't have degree holders in some of those areas around here, but because those degree holders do not have the required skill, the modern required skill required for that. So I think that it is for us to pay more attention to. It's also in line with the science, technology, and mathematics, the STEM education that is being clamor for all over the world. It is now to narrow this down to technical and vocational education, and then the polytechnical education, because it is something that we need for our development. And I think that is what brought about this idea that, okay, in the House of Representatives, let us even now create a committee that looks more in the area of polytechnic and technical education, so that we can pay more attention to oversighting that area, so that the laws that need to be changed, the laws that need to be amended, the laws that need to be established can be established, so that we can promote this area the more, because it's something that we need. Because it's one of the things that I believe we need to even take care of some of the employment challenges that we have in our country now. We have people, graduates that are produced, graduates in mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, all of these names that have not even have access to any of these things.
Since we're talking about laws and also the situation in the polytechnics, Honorable, I know that a few years ago the government virtually abolished the dichotomy between the HND holders and PSC. That's on paper. But in reality, that dichotomy seems to be existing. Even some governments, state governments, or even the federal government, sometimes you hear stories like, oh, this polytechnic shouldn't be the case. You are a lawmaker. How do you think we can tackle this so that at the end of the day, it's not just on paper?
By regulation and some ministries and agencies, particularly paramilitary, some of them are already trying to blur this difference, this dichotomy. But in reality, legal wise, it's not yet done. In the 9th Assembly, we have the 10th Assembly now. In the 9th Assembly, a law was passed by both houses, both House of Reps and Senate, and was, given to the President for assent. It was not assented to, and we are revisiting that now, so that we can get the assent. Because the argument from my own side and from my committee is that, look, after secondary school and after spending 4 years or 5 years in the other university or polytechnic or whichever, let how far it not be dependent on what you acquire some 5-10 years ago, and I think that is very important. All of those conversion to universities and all of those things is all because of the dichotomy. I mean, nobody wants to play the second fiddle. And like I said somewhere yesterday, I in my own profession, this is something that I experienced. I have a degree in accounting from a university, and we went. I mean, of course, the common thing that brought together with polytechnic education is ICANN at that time, and and we all go into ICANN to write ICANN. There are people that with HND that even pass ICANN, faster, better. And I'm sure it's the same thing in all spheres. I'm not saying that one is better than the other, and I also don't think we should allow the system to now begin to segregate. And that's why you see top-up program, you see programs for you to converting polytechnics to universities. The polytechnics are meant to look at the technology, and technical part of our lives more than the universities. And I think that this dichotomy should be removed. That is what we are pushing, and we are pushing for. And when I mentioned that, to revisit some laws and some existing laws, those are some of the laws that we are trying to look at. And I believe that, given how far it went the last time, we should be able to take care of it. So that is it. When you even see the rush, you see, and the other thing is that, can the number of universities we have today, can it admit all the graduates of our secondary school? The answer is no. So why don't you then allow students to pick whichever one they want to pick? Then after graduating an NYSC, let what they are able to do with their time, with their knowledge, with their skill, how far they are able, let be determined by what they do on the field, and not be determined by what they had in the past. I think that is like a clog in the wheel of our development, and by the grace of God, we'll be able to remove it.
Okay, Honorable, there's this the controversy over the years about the need, the school of thought. Some people believe, we need more universities, more polytechnics. Some others said, no, we need functional, bigger universities and polytechnics. You are in the system, you know this. Which one would you recommend?
I'll go for the second one.
Okay.
The latter. What you need is functionality of institutions. What we need is functionality, and let the students out of secondary school, let them choose whichever route they want to take. Let the route be available, let them be functional. It's not so much now about calling this one university or the other one that. Let it be functional. Let's have, if you want to run polytechnics and you want to run 2, 3, 4 departments there, let's have modern equipment, teaching equipment, lecturers that will give you the right skill that you need to compete anywhere in the world in that. And then the same thing with the universities. And if you're in the humanities and you want to pursue the humanities, look around and see where you can get the best of that. And then after that, go into the world and go and prove your worth. And then based on what you're able to do, let that be what will determine how far you're able to go. And not to come and put a lead that once you are a polytechnic graduate, you can't go beyond a particular grade level, or you can't do that. You can't do. It's not fair on the system, and we don't even have, any reason to do that. In my view, the polytechnics, for instance, have 2 levels. You have OND, then you go for 1 year. Then after your OND, if you know that you want to go into trade, or you want to go into you don't want to continue with the academics, then you're also free to do that. And that is why even our technicians, our artisans should also be certificated, so that they can also be able to compete anywhere in the world. If you are a carpenter and you do level 1 or level 2, and I'm sure MBT and then come and be part of what they're doing, what they're doing there. So we also need to have some of these people certificated, so that labor can move around freely, which is what is happening now. We are here in Nigeria because now the world is now flat, the world is now a global village. We are here in Nigeria, and our jobs have been taken because we don't have the right skill set to do what needs to be done. So we should also be able to go and eat the lunch in other places by making sure that we have the right, skill put in our people, the right capacity put in our people. So I'll go for the latter. Let us have functional polytechnics, functional universities. Let the student determine which ones they want to go, and the ones they come out of it, let how far they go be determined by the kind of person they were and how, their seriousness and the kind of knowledge they have.
All right, if you're just joining us, it's a special edition of Insights on Citizen FM 93.7. And my guest is Honorable Buiga Nasiru Isiaka. He is the chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Polytechnic and Higher Technical Education. Honorable Isiaka is representing Yewa North Imeko Afon Federal Constituency of Ogun State. We will take a break now, and when we return, we will move from education and polytechnics to some politics and some law-making issues. Insight will return in a moment. Please don't go away. before staying tuned, is still Insight on Citizen FM 93.7. My name is Lawrence Omoette, and my guest is still in the studio, Honorable Bega Nasiru Isioka, who is representing Yawa North Imeko from Federal Constituency of Ogun State. He is the chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Polytechnic and Higher Technical Education. The phone lines are open now. You can call us on 0903 2299797. That's 0903 2299797. You can also call us on 0818 2222205 or 0818 2222206. And don't forget, you can interact with us on our social media platforms, 3 of them on Facebook at Citizen FM Abuja, and also on Instagram at Citizen FM 937, and on X at Citizen FM 937. You can also send us a WhatsApp message, and we will be glad to read out your message anytime. Just let us know where you're writing in from. Okay. Honorable Siaka, let's move on to some lawmaking. You are a chairman of a committee in the House of Representatives, and the House of Representatives, just like its Senate counterpart, is embarking on the review of the Constitution. A lot of issues have been thrown up, from the electoral reforms to issue of restructuring, state police, and so many other things. From the feelings, from your feedback from your constituency, what would be the most important thing your constituency would want to see in the current review of the Constitution?
Well, number one, before now, I will have, because I'm aware, I will have mentioned probably
powers to the states.
More power to the states. You know, we have the central is damn too strong. You know, and then particularly in the area of minerals and mines, because the idea of the minerals that are all around the place being centrally controlled from here, and then the state government is only asked to issue a CFO. Even a CFO that a state government issues, once the mineral is there, it's no longer that CFO is no longer functional. So devolution of power, if insecurity is the most important thing in your area and you want to spend 70% of your resources in a particular month, a year rather, to make sure that the place is secured, please go ahead and do it, so that when the place is secure, people can at least some kind of resources in your area, and you want to pay attention to it to ensure that your state, particular level in terms of utilizing those things, you can also go ahead and do it. So I think that devolution of power, because I still believe that we achieve a lot more when we were mentioning the regions, and the regions were sufficiently or reasonably independent of each other, and they're able to control a lot of things that is happening there. So those are the things that my people are looking at, devolution of power. So anywhere that is in the area of security, like I mentioned, that's also important. Some areas of electoral acts too, but things all about constitution. So those are the two important ones I can remember right away.
Okay, is it early this week? You're about 60 members of the House of Reps active, and so many other things. Were you part of those 60 lawmakers?
Well, I wasn't part of the 60, but I participated in the press conference when I heard about it, later on. Yes, because I also think it's not a bad idea. Oh, of course, it's still going to subjected to a constitutional amendment require assembly. Also require the consent of the state. So it's going to be filled and begin to hear the feelings of the people. In this case, how many of them knows? Well, even when it's come for the president to come and for us to come and have debates, how many people listen to those debates? Particularly when the debate is going to be done in English language, and not a choice of the choice of president. They are still relying on people around them, the election politicians around them to make up their mind. But in this particular case, whoever is coming is just the leader of the party that has the highest number of seats in the assembly, and the person will also associate himself to election in his own constituency. So I think there are arguments, but this is just opening. This is just being open now. Government supposed to be a continuum, and if you spend so much money to put those confab together, then I remember very well all the things that went into it. I see no reason why it should not be looked at. All this one we're even talking about, it might even be the beginning of the discussions. We can bring out some of the things that are there and then subject them to further discussions and debate all across. But a lot of our resources as a country has gone into producing it.
06. You can also send us a WhatsApp message. Just let us know where you are writing info. Okay, so Honorable Seka, let's look at some politics now. The build-up to the 2023 general election showed that political parties, politicians, politics for the rule of these political parties. Who say we should have an overhaul of how political parties are.
What is important is for us to have our institutions to be strong, very strong enough, so that some of these and the judiciary is strong enough to give very fair, bold, courageous decisions. It will be a lesson for people when it gets to the next election cycle that some of these things are frivolous, some of these things should not be done, and then they will not do it. But if they take it and for any reason the judiciary allows what is not supposed to be, for any reason, it will encourage some of these things to happen. So my argument, therefore, is that what we need are very strong institutions.
How do we do this?
Well, it's for all of us. Number one, we need to continue to monitor our institutions. The people should also talk, because at the end of the day, they are working for us. I don't want to say leadership, because if I say leadership, it's a part of our institutions. But when the people also see what is not right, there are some decisions in the last elections that even an average person will feel that why should this be so, even when you are not a lawyer. The judges may have their reasons that I'm not a lawyer, but where those ones happen too, I think it's for everybody to ask questions. As a citizen, how many times have you asked your representative, either at assembly level, House of Reps or National Assembly, why did he take this position when this bill or this motion come around? I think it's also for us to have those decisions. I think it's also for us that when the time for election comes, let our decisions also be guided as an electorate. Let us also be guided by our convictions and not other pecuniary and who for all reasons or the other has supported something that is bad in the past, can be brought to book, can be so asked. I think those are just some of the things that we need to do. The three arms of government must also be able to do what is expected of them. Everybody has his own role to play. But at the end of the day, one of American president said at some point, what we need for a strong country is not a strong man, they are strong institutions. So at the end of the day, we all must just be part of what we are saying. What is happening around, we must be part of it. At the end of the day, no matter what we do, we have a 4-year to use our vote to determine who should be and who should not be. Let this vote be used also wisely rather. Let it not be affected by other factors that we should not even be talking about here. So that to me is within the right of those that goes to court. It is also now for us, and where we think that there are loopholes in the Constitution or the Electoral Act that allows for that to happen. Of course, the National Assembly should also now look at it so that we can have we can correct those ones. But at the end of the day, the judiciary is there for us, for all of us, and we hope and pray that we continue to have.
There are some people who agree with you. There are others who believe that gradually the judiciary is replacing the electorate. When you have cases or dispute about who is the authentic candidate of a particular election, drag on till after the election, even drag on till after the swearing in of such a person, and before you know it, the court orders, our inputs are not taken care of simply because your colleagues, people in politics, have simply decided not to play by the rules.
Well, you are right. But at the end of the day, because there must also be orderliness in the country and in the polity, and that can only be done by the judiciary. When 2-3 people are fighting for one thing, there are chances that there will be dispute. We still have to take the dispute to an independent arbiter, who in this case is the court. What I also find very, I don't find very acceptable is a situation where, in the case of Plateau State, for instance, thank God the Supreme Court, stopped that of the governor. But I have colleagues in the House of Representatives who lost their seat in Plateau State by virtue of what the people that voted for them did not have any involvement at all on the ground of there was no executive when they were nominated as a candidate or elected as a candidate, whereas they've come to the electorate have taken a decision on a number of people, and now for 3, 4 people, 5 people to now push aside the decision of thousands of people is not good, but like I said, thank God that we got that stopped in the case of the governor at the Supreme Court. But the one that happened at the lower court has happened, and those people they've gone back home. I think those kind of things are not good, and even if there's a problem with the at the time the people have been nominated, let them go back to the polls and let the people now take a decision on who they want to represent them. A situation where somebody that's scored like 30% of the vote is being made now, the representative, when the man that scored about 60-70% have been asked to go home for reasons not known to the people. Is not good enough. But the majority loopholes in our laws that needs to be plugged by the National Assembly.
Okay, Honorable Siaka, we are gradually winding down now, and let's get a little bit personal now. You've been around quite a while. You are a 3-time governorship candidate. In 2011, you ran on the platform of the People's Democratic Party. In 2015, in 2011 it was actually the People's Party of Nigeria, and in 2015 it was the People's Democratic Party, and in 2019 the African Democratic Party. It does not seem that you are ready to give up. Are you?
Give up what in governance?
Yes, no, governorship. Your eyes on that seat.
Well, I am not ready to give up to serve the people. Where I am now, I'm also serving the people.
Okay.
So, but about governorship or no governorship, that is not within the discussions at this point. We're just 7 months into a mandate. Let us even give a good account of ourselves within this 4-year period, or at least 2-3 years down the line, before we can even begin to talk about what next. So, even about serving the people, yes, we still, to the glory of God, has given us some little knowledge. God has given us some, good health, and then we are already inside it anyway, and then we will continue to do it one way or the other. But for which and for which not, is not within purview or within discussions at this point.
Well, I guess one of the ways of continuing your service to your people, recently you unveiled an education intervention plan to improve the quality of education in your constituency. What was that about?
Well, my constituency happens to be one of the most less states. And I started this whole journey of representation with a development plan, which I call a 15-year development plan, that looked at the entire system. and point out the areas that we believe we need to really look at. And one is the economy, the other one is the social development, and then governance in terms of security. The area of the economy, we are doing our bit. And then we also ran under the platform that the platform that we're going to give a development focused representation. So the education initiative is just our own intervention into the education sector of our federal constituency, and it falls into 5 areas. One is support for teaching staff. The state government is, and then more importantly is moral school. After all said and done, the kind of people that our students are, our younger ones are, will also go a long way to determine how far we can go. And therefore we want to be bringing people that have passed through those areas, and they are doing a bit longer than that.
Representing a constituency because of the myriads of demands, requests from your constituencies. But these are not normal times. There are a lot of challenges.
Understand, it's all of them that is not. Understand, it's all of them that is not even all of them that I can meet. About not to talk about those that are even frivolous. So, but whatever it is, you still have to give them some listening ears. You still have to, say some things. You still have to. What's happening and what the inflation has done to our currency, what the to the food prices, the price of items, and even drugs for those that needs that. So it's something that is quite a very challenging one for us.
Oh well, Honorable Isaka, before I let you go, your background is finance. In fact, you made a first class from the. Your background is finance. In fact, you made a first class from the then University of Ife.
That one is history.
But today, here you are in politics. One would have expected you to be in the financial sector. But how did you end up in politics?
Well, I never planned it as such. When the governor was winding down, the team gave me an opportunity to run, and then I got into it, and I come to the conclusion that